Assalamu alaikum. Dear listeners and viewers, Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll discuss Victorian poetry, Tennyson's famous poem Ulysses. At first, we will talk about Tennyson. He was one of the greatest Victorian poets and one of the most popular British poet also. And he was born in 1809 and died 1892. He got Chancellor Gold Medal in 1829. He wrote much of his works based on mythological themes such as Ulysses, etc. There is a session that is in memoriam. He wrote in memoriam to commemorate his friend Arthur Hallam. And Ulysses was published in 1842. The poem is 70 lines, black verse in the style of dramatic monologue. We know what is dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue is a type of poems where there is a single speaker and silent listeners, and there were three audience in the poem. Ulysses tells the story of what happens to the aging heroes of Trojan War. The Ulysses, Latin name for Greek mythology Odyssey, is a hero who fought many battles as a young man, and he spent 10 years battling in the siege of Troy. So he took part in the battle to seize the Troy and took a journey 10 additional years to return home to Ithaca. And he, after seizing Troy, they come back to Ithaca. Ulysses, the poem speaker, begins by giving a picture of what his life has been like during the past years. He is comparing his life between past and present times. Ulysses describes his subject as a savage rage. Ulysses nostalgically outlines some of his adventures in his younger days. So he remembered his past life, his glorious past life as a hero, as an adventurer, as a fighter, and he wants to go back to that stage, and he describes his subjects, his people, as savage rage. So we find his negative attitude to his subject. He is not satisfied with his subjects or people, and so he is not interested to rule the country. He wants. We'll find later that he wants to go back to his previous life as an adventurer, as a sea voyager. He speaks of battles of fought with his comrades, people he met with place he saw, and greatly missed those days. He travelled to many lands and was honored. He travelled many lands, many countries, and he was honored. At that time, heroes and fighter soldiers was highly honored. Were highly honored. He believes that he truly lived life in those days. That means that was his real life. His present condition, he is not satisfied with his present condition. That time was his real life. He believes that he truly lived like those days. Ulysses expressed some regret that his present life is doomed. He is aware that as he grows older, he has little time left to live before that eternal silence of death takes over. So his time is coming to an end. Before eternal silence means death. Before death, he want to do something. Therefore, Ulysses is determined to follow his desires before death. So he want to fulfill his desires before death, as life is short, and he is going to an end. He mentioned his son Telemachus. So his son name is Telemachus, and who will be future king. Ulysses is confident that his son will do well to rule the people. So Ulysses has confidence in his son Telemachus that he can rule these people, these savage people, and he is much competent to rule these people. Ulysses next asks his friends, his former fellow mariners to accompany him as an adventurer. He points out the port, the ship, and the sea in an attempt to bring his nostalgia to their hearts as well. As he has become nostalgic, he also rouses nostalgia in his comrades' hearts. He inspired them to go with him to the sea again. And he knows he will face difficulty to convince them to leave as the journey has danger and it is not possible and they won't ever return home. So it is not easy thing to make them to inspire them because there is danger and as they are growing old and of course there is they might be home loving and after long years they return home. So many aspects or many things will work in their hearts. So it is not easy thing to inspire them. He reminds them that if they do not go now, they will merely sit and wait for death in boredom and acting. So Ulysses also tells them if they don't go now, they will stay home, they will become sick, and they will continue life of boredom and inactivity, and they may do something before death. So there is little time left that they should do something now, and they should go outside, they should go to the sea, and they should go for outside. He urges his friend to go with him to find new lands as they did in their youth. So they want to find out new place. It's very pleasure for adventurous people to find out new place. They want to do it again. They want to do it again as they did it before. Although they don't have stamina, they lack stamina. Obviously, as they are growing old, they lack stamina. They have wills and noble hearts, heroic nature, but they have some qualities. They have wills, they have noble heart, they have spirit, they are spirited. Okay. They are all outside, but inward they are still young. Actually, especially Ulysses. And they have knowledge also. They are experienced. They are vastly experienced about their voyages, sea voyages. So we find their spirit. We find the spirit in Ulysses. Therefore, they must seize the moment before it's too late. So, it's too late means death is approaching them. They are going old and death is approaching them. So, it will be too late if they take decision with delay, and they must try to seek, to find, not to yield. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Now we'll talk about the theme of Ulysses. The central theme of Ulysses is that there is a search for adventure. The search for adventure, experience, and meaning, which makes life worth living. The search for adventure, experience, and meaning, which makes the worth living. Ulysses is an old adventurer, unwilling to accept the setting of old age, longing for more quest. Ulysses is an untamed spirit, and nothing is going to stop him. So we find Ulysses an untamed spirit. Nothing can stop him. He is, and Ulysses was okay. Now, the poem is based on the character of Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey. As we said earlier, most of the Tennyson's poem is based on mythological themes. Ulysses also that Ulysses is taken from Homer's Odysseus. The idea is taken from Homer's Odysseus, and character is also taken from Homer's Odysseus. Ulysses is the Latin form of the name of Odysseus. Tennyson Ulysses is now old. He has experienced all of the adventures of Battle of Troy and on the sea throughout his Odysseus. When he come back home, he had enough time as a ruler. Instead, he described to go to his next journey. But he don't like ruling, the profession of ruling. He don't want to see himself as a ruler. He want to continue his life as a traveler, as a sea voyager. In the first part of the poem, he speaks to himself. He lamented his uselessness as a ruler, given the idleness of his people. So we find here that his people are savage, little savages, and also we find that his people are also idle. So he don't like his subjects or people. He thinks that his son are his son is more competent uh, to rule these people. And these people had no ambition. His people had no ambition, and this is the contrast. We find we see the contrast between Ulysses and his people. I mean his countrymen. They didn't realize the kind of adventure and spirit the king had. They realize the quality of their king, the importance of their king. Their king has a special quality. He likes adventure. He is a spirited man. But people don't understand. His subject don't understand the quality or this characteristic of their king. His inquisitive spirit was always looking forward. He always looked forward, and he had seen a great variety of culture. He is vastly experienced. What he has seen, his people are ignorant of that. He has seen a great variety of cultures, but this is all in the past. Okay. Ulysses used a metaphor, a sword that must shine in the use, rather than rust unvarnished. At home, he feels bored. So, sword, if a sword is in idle, is not in use, it will be inactive. It will lose its sharpness. So he is impatient for new experience and seeks something more. So he becomes restless. He wants to go quickly again to the sea. In the second part of the poem, as though spoken to the reader, although this address may only be in his mind, Ulysses explains the differences between himself and his son Telemachus. So obviously there is differences between Ulysses and his son and Telemachus. His son will be a fair and decent ruler to his people. So he thinks that his son is competent, perfect, or fit as a ruler for this kind of people. Telemachus is rooted in regular political life. So he has the political instinct. Telemachus has political instinct. On the other hand, Ulysses don't have that political instinct in him or political intrigue in him. He is like romantic. You can say Ulysses is romantic. In contrast, Telemachus, his son, has political view, political intelligence or intrigue. In the third part, Ulysses seems to address his heartly mariners. The port of the boat and the seas, all the become him. The mariners are his competitors, all are his competitors. Unlike living like a king on the unlike living king on the seas, they made their choice with the free hearts, free heads. So we know a king is not a king is full of king's brain is full of anxiety, tension, or something like this. But they will have free hearts and free foreheads. There will be no tension, only enjoyment. And those were the good old days, even fighting with gods. But there is no good reason to waste away in nostalgia. So only nostalgia can't satisfy them. They want reality. They want to go to the past, activity like past. It is not too late to seek a newer world. As they become old, although they become old, It is not too late for them to seek a new world, to go to adventure, to seek a newer world, to find out new island. There are many voices of the ocean to ask them to come back. A life becomes fulfilled when they do adventure on the seas. So their life will be satisfied, their life will be fulfilled by the adventures on the seas. And we find the allusion, here we find the allusion to Achilles in Happy Isles. In Homer's Iliad, Achilles is the feature warrior whose anger and valor generate the primary storyline. He gave his fullest attempt in Troy. Once he got back into the battle, he made much of the time. Achilles sat in his tent and left his sword and his skills unvarnished. So Achilles is a good and model icon of heroism for Ulysses. Now Ulysses has been called crisis lyric also. Crisis lyrics means we know that this is the poem of Victorian age, and Victorian age is the age of crisis. People are in doubt and they don't take a decision. They are divided whether they will take the old belief or take the new belief. So that was a crisis age. That was a crisis age. We also find here crisis lyric. It is also cleric lyric, which is a genre from Romantic period that presents a crisis, an attempt to resolve the crisis for Ulysses. The crisis due to old age. Here the crisis due to old age. In the past, when he was young, he went outside, he went to the adventure. But when in old age, there is a problem to take decision to go outside. There is some physical problem also, and there is a dilemma: should he continue the life as a king, gradually fade away, or should he constantly engage in the life as an adventurer? Will he live out of the boring and honorable life of life of Telemachus at home as he ages, or the noble risky life in the uncertain waters, living by his strength of will even at his body weakens? So this is crisis. Will he continue as a king, or will he go to the adventure? Okay. So he also notes that life in death, the impotency of solace in intolerable for a man like him. So he describes this life as a life in death. Tennyson's philosophy here is to push ahead within vigor and strength of will, and no matter how old our bodies here, how weak our bodies are, we miss the most exciting aspect of life if we do not venture out into the unknown. So this is the thing we find here. Tennyson philosophy, age doesn't matter. If you have strength or vigor inside you, inward, then you have to go outside. You have to do everything like a young man. So youth is depend not on the age but on the will. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.